Hi, Alex.
All right, so good afternoon, folks. My name is Isaac. I'm going to be the cabin operator taking you all up to the top of the mountain. Is this anybody's first time coming up?
Yep.
Sweet, so quite a few. So we have a nice 15-minute trip ahead of us. The average speed is going to be 13.6 miles per hour, about 20 feet per second. We are just now leaving an elevation of 6,559 feet. At the top of the mountain, it is 10,378 feet. We're going to be traveling over 2.7 miles with a cable. As we go along, it does cool down. It just takes a little bit. We only have nature C. We don't have any AC. So as we get going, it does cool off. And there's usually about a 20-degree temperature difference from the bottom to the top. Tram's been operating for a nice 52 years. Construction was 64 to 66. If anybody has any questions along the way, feel free to ask. I will do my best to answer it for you. If I don't know it, I can always make it up to make you feel better. Alrighty, folks, you're going to notice what looks like a hiking trail. We're actually about to pass over. That's the original service road that they used during the 60s to bring up all the trucks, crews, cranes, and equipment to build the first tower. It gives you a good idea of that erosion rate and how little the mountain changes. This first tower we're approaching is 232 foot tall and is leaning towards Albuquerque at an 18-degree angle. There's going to be a slight swing and sway as we pass over it. It's nothing to worry about. Your best thing to remember, there's no reason to panic unless I panic. Yeah, it used to be a lot noisier too. Yeah. Yeah, even the old cars were a little bit noisier when they were. It's nice. It makes it so it's a lot more complicated. Yeah, that makes a difference.
I heard that.
How long does it take to hike down from here to here?
We suggest 5 to 7 hours. And it's just, it usually takes a little longer than the hike up, which is 4 to 6. And it's about 10 miles one way. Yeah, and you can do it faster, but we just suggest that for like, going down's hard on your knees and shins.
It is, but I know it's altitude.
Yeah.
It's hard to go up.
Yeah, it definitely takes a bit.
It's true, because I have no problem going down.
Yeah. There's 2 different trails, the La Luz and the Pino. They're both about 2 miles distance from the top. So the La Luz is generally considered easier because it's not as steep near the top. But you're in the sun pretty much the entire way unless you start really early. The Pino Trail, you're in the trees for the most of it until the bottom. But then you're in the desert. But it's just steeper. That's all.
We're going to do that one day.
Make sure you take pictures.
It's okay.
That's why I passed
Did you go all the way up?
Alrighty, folks, as we're getting up a little bit higher, some of you are going to notice that there's no road anymore. Everything from here on was done by helicopter. 2,000 helicopter trips for the second tower that we're approaching, and 3,000 plus for all the cable in the top. If you thought this second tower is the top of the mountain, we are not quite halfway.
Oh, wow.
So as we pass over the towers where it's going to cool down a little bit, it's going to swing and sway, and another great view of the valley on the other side. If you're not quite sure where you feel about heights, this is where you're going to get to find out.
This is where Grandpa's turns inside. She turns the stairs inside. That's why.
Alrighty, folks, swing and sway as we pass over the tower.
Whoa, we're gonna pass this speed hump. That's awesome.
Alrighty, now as the other tram car passes on my side, that's going to mark halfway. It is going to look like they're moving faster than we are, but they're not. They can't. I promise. We're attached to the same cable, so we really don't have a choice. Imagine this is a big clothesline. We just can't turn around at either end. That's why there's only 2 cars. They are hanging lower than us. Whichever car goes down gets slack. It relieves some of the tension on the system. This is halfway for you.
I saw it.
Now this is where we're going to slow down a little bit. They pass over the tower, so they slow down the same spot for us. This is a great place to look down on either side if you're by a window or to get to a window and try to look down. Rounding up, you're about 1,000 foot in the air. This is roughly the same height as the Empire State Building viewing dock, about 7.5 seconds, so you can fit the Eiffel Tower directly underneath of us. Now while you're looking in the valley, there's a chance to see some animals. I'm going to make no promises. I haven't seen anything yet today, but that doesn't mean much. It really just means that it's really hot. Just like you and me, most of the mammals don't like to run around in the heat. We have mule deers, black bear, mountain lions, and bobcats are going to be the bigger critters you can see. Some of the smaller stuff you might see on the trails are going to be squirrels, chipmunks, raccoons, porcupines, skunks, foxes, turkey, weasels, badgers, and ferrets. Oh, so we actually pass through 4 different ecological zones. So we do the high desert, the upper Sonoran, the Hudsonian, and the Canadian. Yep. Yeah, right up near the top, we get those blue ponderosa pines. So they've been kind of showing up with some of the new pine cones that are coming in. It's pretty. Oh, nice. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. They're pretty cool. Yeah. I like the ones we get up here, they're really pretty. I like them. Alrighty, folks. Now I've heard quite a few people talking about it, so I'm sure a few of you may be wondering. For the plane crash on the mountain, the TWA is going to be in this next canyon straight down after this small cliff. The TWA plane crash left to the Albuquerque airport February 19th of '55. They were going to Albuquerque to Santa Fe. Before they took off, they were having difficulty with the altimeter, the compass, and there was a big wall of clouds through the area. Unfortunately, the ground team were unable to duplicate the issues, and the pilot, not being an amateur, flown thousands of flights, actually flown without devices in World War II, and had flown that exact same flight path 25 times that month, decided to go anyways. They were about 2,000 foot off from what the devices were telling them. By the time they realized it was just too late, they ended up impacting the right side of that small cliff, and all 16 people on board perished immediately. The only silver lining is the plane could have fit 40. It was a Martin 404.
Can you see it?
There's really just a few shiny pieces of metal, so if you don't see much, it doesn't look like much anymore unless you hike out there, and even then it's just a few pieces. Way off. On a different note, I'm going to show you folks my favorite spot to hike to. If you look out my side straight out and all the way up, you can actually follow how the mountain kind of slants up to the left. On the tip-top corner up there is a little gray building with a black window. So So that's called Kiwanis Cabin, also nicknamed the Stone House. It was built back during the 1930s by the CCC, the Civilian Conservation Corps. It was made for all the folks working up here during the Depression, building the trails, the power lines, and stuff like that, so they could get out of the weather. There's nobody in it anymore. There's no windows or doors. People kept breaking them, so they just stopped replacing them. But it's a nice hike over there. It's the highest point on the mountain. It's usually about an hour and a half round trip hike, or 3 miles round trip from the top where we land. Just take Trail 130 north. When you come back, obviously Trail 130 south. If you do go out hiking, make good decisions. You are on top of a mountain, so don't stand directly on the cliff ledge. This mountain's considered decaying granite. Don't feed the wild animals. We like to keep them wild. And leave no trace. Really just means pick up after yourselves. We're not technically under a fire restriction, but we're asking that you smoke in the designated smoking area. If you smoke elsewhere, that's fine. Just put out your cigarette butt and put it in your back pocket. I know it's possible. I used to smoke. On a nice clear day up here, you have almost an 11,000 square mile view of the state from the top. That's about 10% of New Mexico 360-wise. To give you an idea of how big New Mexico is, that 10% would be the entire state of Connecticut all at once. Just for a size reference, unfortunately we're not able to see any other states up here. It has to do with the curvature of the earth. I know that's unfortunate, but it's true. The earth's not flat. It's terrible, I know. The last tram leaving the mountain tonight is going to be right about 9 o'clock, and the tram runs on average every 15 minutes. The last time I walked by the cashier stand, I saw that there was a little bit of a wait to come back down. But whenever you're ready to hop in line, just go ahead and hop in it. I suggest at least getting out, taking some pictures, and enjoying it. Unfortunately, when we get up here, I will have to ask everybody to exit so that it's fair for these folks that are going to be waiting up here in this middle dock. The last tram's about 9 o'clock, sunset's right about 8:10. You're more than welcome to wait the like 5 hours up here for sunset. We're not going to rush you down. Just keep in mind that there's always a longer wait after that because everybody wants to see the sunset. Nobody wants to wait around afterwards.
I would like to get to Dallas. We're driving back to Florida. So.
Oh man.
We left Las Vegas last night.
That's a long drive.
We drove from Florida to Salt Lake City and then Vegas.
What, was it a fun trip or was it like at a forced pace?
Yeah, we drove straight through. We only slept and ate and used the bathroom at like Superchargers. We were driving to Tesla.
Oh, nice. How is that?
It's wonderful. It's great.
He takes pictures and edits videos and posts them while he's driving because the car drives itself.
Yeah, so it's not like a stress at all. So
that's totally a whole nother world.
Yeah.
I'm used to like when I go on a 13-hour drive having to be attentive for 13 hours.
I drive a Chrysler 200. The Tesla's hers.
Fair enough.
And I live in Atlanta and it's traffic.
To the point that you don't even want to drive.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know that I could drive in a really big city. Like Albuquerque has enough people for me, like with driving. Yeah, everybody that comes from a big city, they're like, you don't. Yeah. I haven't seen LA. I've seen San Antonio. Yeah. A few in California, but not LA yet.
Yeah, LA. This is nothing. But I know that I'm used to having no traffic.
Yeah.
So on this trip, I was like, I'm in LA.
Even if there's a wreck, it's not that bad. When my girlfriend, she'll take me to California with her to go see concerts, and she drives. Like, I'll do the big expanses out in the middle of nowhere, but when we get to the city, I'm like, you should stand there and just take pictures. Oh yeah, the narrow roads, like
10,378 feet.
Alrighty, folks. Yeah, of course. My buddy Michael's going to be letting you out on the side opposite from me. He can't open the doors until this green light turns off. It takes about 30 seconds to a minute. Once that happens, you're free. I do have to ask everybody to exit. If you have any other questions while you're up here, Michael's the guy to talk to. But he is the only one up here today, so if he's running around like a chicken with his head cut off, I'm sure he'll get back to you when he realizes you asked a question.
Top now, folks, please watch your step as you exit the cabin, and date-wise, it is a lovely 77 degrees up here.
I guess we won't be leaving those.
Wow, that's good.
I have a question.
Nice.
Take a picture.
Oh, there's a big deck over here, sweets. We'll go over here.
What is that? All these people are downstairs.
We have to go this way. You guys want to go around? Look, they have. Look,
At an angle, but I'm trying to.
Well, scoot back, further back, honey.
Oh, yeah.
Further back. Back, get in the shade. Over there. No,
Oh, yes.
yeah, get the phone in the shade. There you go.
Yep. Oh, that's a pretty picture.
Look, now look. No. You look here. Just turn her around. Huh? Really?
We're at the top of a mountain. All right, guys, I'm gonna let you go.